the Constitution. I don't like to put it on the floor. Real quick, I just wanted to, well, let me ask this. Does anybody here know who I am?
Yep.
Some, but quite a few that don't. Okay, good. The reason why I asked is, it's easier when I have a podium. So. There's a few things I wanted to let you know about who I am and why I was asked to be here today. I am a constitutional attorney. I'm the founder of Restore Freedom, the first constitutional amendment, the first petition that was being circulated last summer to try to fix all the tyranny and the garbage that we started seeing in mass quantities last year in our state. Mother of 4. Kids number 2 and 3 are done with high school this year. I know I look like I'm 20, but one of ours is actually turning 20 in 2 weeks. I'm a wife, I'm a Christian, I'm a business owner, and I'm a proud American. And since April 2nd of last year, I have been fighting against our governor's unconstitutional response to COVID-19. More importantly, in the last 14 months, I may be able to say now that I've taken a whole day off, one whole day off, but I've been using all this time to hold our government officials accountable to their oath of office and to educate and empower citizens to exercise our sovereign authority. So obviously you guys know why we're here today, right? We're gathered to honor those who lost their lives to fight for our freedom. Each one of them left behind family and friends, neighbors and colleagues. But their sacrifice only means as much as we continue to restore and preserve our freedoms. Their sacrifice was made for each and every one of us. So this is rhetorical to some degree because it'd be complicated if you all answered, but it's not really rhetorical. What are you doing to protect, to restore, to preserve our freedoms? That question is for each and every one of you, even if you're younger than 18. How many of you have read the entire book of Romans? Anybody? Romans 2:8. But for those who are self-seeking and who reject the truth and follow evil, there will be wrath and anger. Government's been spewing a lot of mistruths and directing the people down many different paths of evil for many years, but we can all agree that it's definitely been an exponentially growing problem since COVID started. Romans 2:13, part of it says that it is those who obey the law who will be declared righteous. Of course, there's God's law, but of man's law, that's not talking about every single statute or edict from the governor or your local health department. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Romans 2:23, those who dishonor God, those who break the law dishonor God. Even in Isaiah 1:17, the whole book is being written to a rebellious nation. It tells us to seek justice and rebuke the oppressor. And in Ezekiel 11:1, 2, and 4, it says that when the leaders of the people are giving wicked advice in the city, God calls us to speak out against them, to speak the right word at the right time in the right way. Promise this is all going to make sense in a second. How many of you have honestly read the entire U.S. Constitution, start to finish? More of us need to. It's not for attorneys and judges. It's not for justices of the U.S. or Michigan Supreme Court. The Constitution was written for each and every one of us, by the people. Does anybody know, without cheating or looking, how many articles are in the U.S. Constitution? Anybody? Does anybody know how many amendments have been adopted? What did I hear?
27.
27, that's right. There are 7 articles and 27 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. Does anybody here know what Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution is?
Treason.
What's that?
Treason.
Well, Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, the main point of that is to tell us that we have a republican form of government, which means we, the people, retain the sovereign authority in our government. We, the people. Not a judge, not a justice, not a governor, not a Republican, not a Democrat. We, the people, retain sovereign authority.
May I? It also mentions the punishment for treason, too.
I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
If you want to talk about things later,
I'm
you're
good.
more than welcome. Article 6 has 2 really awesome pieces in that. Anybody know what pieces are in there? It tells us that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. All judges, it says, and all others are bound thereby. Bound. This is not optional. It doesn't go away in times of emergency. It doesn't just vanish or be modified by a governor's orders or by the CDC recommendations or anything of that nature. Article 6, again, tells us that there is an oath to support the Constitution. Every single person in the state legislature, in our Congress, judges, governors, you name it, they're bound to support the Constitution. Does anybody know what is in the 9th Amendment to the Constitution? Nobody? Am I missing somebody? Some of you have heard me speak way too many times to not be raising your hand. Article 9, or excuse me, the 9th Amendment to our U.S. Constitution is one of the best because it says we have all these other rights, right? You've heard of the First Amendment. Raise your hand if you've heard of the First Amendment. Okay. Second Amendment. Okay. We have the Bill of Rights. We have amendments that came after that that are on the same, kind of freedom specific for our rights kind of way. But the 9th Amendment tells us that we are guaranteed all of those unenumerated rights that are given to us by God. So the government's job is to protect our liberty, to protect our freedom. And the 9th Amendment tells us, hey, don't you think of this list as this is the list of all of your rights, and you get your rights from government, and if it's not on this list, then you don't have a right to do it. No, the 9th Amendment makes it pretty darn clear you have all the rights that God gave you, and government's job is to protect all of them. And some of them are supposed to be so stinking obvious, like breathing fresh air and not having to inject something into your body forcefully and against your will, that they didn't think they'd need to spell that out in our Constitution. And I still don't think we should, because we don't have to get our permission to live or breathe from the government. God gave us that. Health, safety, and welfare. I'm sure you guys have heard of those phrases in our government as the reasons why our government supposedly gets to do all these orders and basically use the policing power, right? You guys have heard of health, safety, and welfare as being terms used to explain why the government can do all this stuff, right? All right, at least see a few people I haven't put to sleep yet. That's great. How many times do you think the word health is in the U.S. Constitution?
0.
All right, 0. So if the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and God gives us our rights, and we have sovereign authority, so government gets their power from us, and we didn't put the word health anywhere in that Constitution, how is it that government has the right to regulate us or protect us from ourselves when it comes to health? They don't at all. What about welfare? Anybody know how many times that word is in the U.S. Constitution?
0.
Oh, Rachel's heard me speak a few times. twice. So welfare, it's in the preamble, and it just talks about promoting the general welfare. I don't know about you, but last time I checked the dictionary, it seemed like promoting to me was only encouraging, not requiring anything of anyone. And the other provision that it's talked about is basically in terms of paying for the common defense and general welfare of the people. Paying for, providing for. Not requiring anything of anyone. That's it. Not sure how that then leads to the government gets to do this, and this, and this, and this, and this, because they have the right to protect our general welfare. No, again, it's not in the Constitution. They don't have a right to do it. I don't care how long or how many court cases say that they do. If it's not in the Constitution, then all those judges, and all those governors, and all those legislators, current or past, just didn't know how to read the Constitution. Safety. Anybody know how many times that word is in the U.S. Constitution? I mean, it's their job to keep us safe, right? That's the government's job. Anybody know how many times that word's in there? One. And it's only talking about if the public safety requires, then the writ of habeas corpus may be suspended. That's it. There's no other time the word safety is used in the U.S. Constitution, so how on earth can anyone ever argue that the government's job is to keep us safe from anything? Their one job is to keep us safe from it, the government. So they don't have the right to regulate the people under the guise of keeping us safe. What happens when I blend my speeches is that I almost start talking about the wrong thing after I go back and forth. How many of you have read the entire Michigan Constitution? Oh, thank you. There's one. Just one? Only one? Okay. I knew I liked you the day I met you. All right, so I guess I'm only asking you this. But if anybody knows this without having read it all, that's fine too. How many articles are in the Michigan Constitution? Anybody? Anybody? Yes, anybody. Throw something out there. Thank you for participating. 12. There's 12 articles in the Michigan Constitution. And anybody who knows me well, what do you think one of my favorite, I'd say my favorite, but I do have a few favorites, favorite part of the Michigan Constitution, towards the beginning? Hint, hint. Anybody know?
The people of Michigan.
Oh, who said that? Oh. What's in the preamble of our state constitution?
Talks about honoring God.
Let's see. Well, word for word, this is the entire preamble of our state constitution. We, the people of the state of Michigan, not the governor, not the legislature, not the judges, we, the people of the state of Michigan, grateful to Almighty God for the blessings of freedom and earnestly desiring to secure these blessings undiminished to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution, period. Those are some pretty darn powerful words. Article 1, Section 1 also tells us that all political power is inherent in the people. I like to think of that as our version of Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, right? The Republican form of government. All political power is inherent in the people. Article 4 and Article 7, that's the provisions that talk about local governments and the legislature. They make pretty clear that only certain regulations can be implemented by the legislature or by local governments. They can't just do whatever they want. It's not willy-nilly, hey, if you're a local government, go for it. If you're in the legislature, as long as you got there, you spent the money, you got the votes, you could do whatever you want to your people. No. Article 11, Section 1, and state law, MCL 15.151, are probably some of my, number 2, favorite parts of our state constitution and our state law, because they require every single person, together, working together, they require every single person who works for the government in Michigan. It doesn't matter if you're a school bus driver or the janitor at your local county building, or if you're a county commissioner or a state rep or the governor. If you work for, if you're an agent of, if you are employed by the state of Michigan in any way, shape, or form, you are required to take an oath to support the U.S. and Michigan constitutions. There's been a few FOIAs done recently that have exposed several people in government. Say, for example, local health department officials that are telling businesses that they have to close, or that they have to do certain things or require certain things of their customers. That those people have not even taken an oath to uphold or support the U.S. and Michigan constitutions. Blatant violation of state law and of the Constitution. But I want you guys to remember that. If you don't remember anything else, Article 11, Section 1, or State Law 15.151. That's the oath. And our state constitution also has one of those special provisions that I talked about with the U.S. Constitution. Anybody know what our unenumerated rights clause is in our state constitution? Oh, husband, how many times have you heard me talk about it?
Quite a bit.
Do you know what it is off the top of your head?
I can't think of it.
Oh, you're grounded. Where's our 7-year-old? Shoot. Article 1, Section 23 of our state constitution says the exact same thing, almost word for word with almost the exact same punctuation. We have rights given to us by God that don't necessarily get itemized or listed in our Constitution, and the government's job is to secure and protect and guarantee those rights, no matter what. So health, safety, and welfare, you guys had so much fun playing that game the first time around. Let's go back for the state constitution. How many times is the word health used in our Michigan Constitution? Anybody know? 4. But it's not in the ways that you would think. Our state constitution uses the term health in terms of being able to regulate natural resources, or the government owning property, such as for a local hospital that's a government hospital. Or, for example, how in Article 4, Section 51 of our state constitution, it says that the legislature can only make laws that are suitable to protect and promote the public health. I don't know, suitable probably means that it follows the Constitution and honors all of our rights given to us by God. The term welfare, only in our state constitution 3 times. Again, not what you would think. Talking about atomic energy, nothing to do with governor's orders, right? Natural resources, and again, that Article 4, Section 51 part that it talks about that are protecting the general welfare of the people is important, but it doesn't lead to a requirement that the people then have to follow a bunch of restrictions and orders from the government. Now, the term safety in the Michigan Constitution, that's in there 6 times, but again, not how you would think. It talks about habeas corpus, it talks about natural resources and the government owning property, such as, I don't know, a county building where your sheriff's department might be located, or a police station for that matter. That's, you know, the need of the government to own property in order to protect our safety, right? That does not mean they have the right to trample all of our freedom in the name of public safety. The fact is, number 1, we are given these rights by God. Number 2, our U.S. and Michigan constitutions guarantee that we have these rights, and there's not any kind of exception clause anywhere in there for anything. Any excuse you have heard any politician, government official, or movie star who thinks they know what's best for the American people talk about on TV or on the radio or on social media, There is no exception. Those constitutions guarantee those rights. And like I mentioned, each and every government official, government employee, or agent is bound by oath to support the U.S. and Michigan constitutions. Bound by oath means not optional. Means they can't do their job, or they are outside of the scope of their authority and therefore do not have authority to act at all unless they are following what they are bound by according to the U.S. and Michigan constitutions. The second they step outside of that boundary, the second they start requiring something of the people that they are not allowed to require us to do or mandate us to do, they no longer have the power and authority to continue doing that, and we no longer have to follow that authority. In fact, Romans 13 tells us, you don't follow them, you follow the authority, the lawful, godly authority. And here, it's preserved in our constitutions. So, this means that we don't have to wait for a judge or governor to tell us that we can exercise our rights. What do I mean about that? Well, at the beginning, it was about following the governor's orders, right? I stood on the steps of the Capitol on April 30th next to, well, a couple of ragtag individuals, like my friends here and my husband, the guy who hasn't gotten to shave in a long time. But these good people stood on the steps of the Capitol with me as I talked about the governor's orders being unconstitutional, and that we did not have to wait for a judge to tell us that is the case. Starting in, even earlier than that actually, starting in mid-April, when I saw that a Kent County court actually was starting to utilize parts of our public health code that allowed nameless warrants to be issued, basically a blank warrant to be issued to arrest someone that they don't even know who it is now, but somebody that any law enforcement official or health official could see on the street. They could look at him and go, oh, that guy looks like he might have COVID. And so they're gonna get a warrant for his arrest so that if they see somebody that they think they might have COVID, they could go ahead and have a warrant already prepared. It's constitutional, right? It's a warrant. They could arrest him. They could put him in a vehicle, transport him to a facility. They could test him and diagnose him and treat him in whatever way they deem necessary. And all of that could be done where there is no, under state law, under the public health code, there's no legal right to have even time in front of a judge to argue your case before 6 full days has passed. Like, they can't do a bunch of garbage to you or permanent damage to you or your health in 6 days. I've been telling people and warning people about our public health code since last April. And lo and behold, when our governor decided she wanted to try to pull another one over on us and tell us, well, the Supreme Court said that, you know, my orders are unconstitutional, but I have at least another 21 days, right? Do you remember that? Anybody remember her saying that? Yeah. Well, I was one of the attorneys involved in that case, and I'm pretty sure, I have to remember, but I'm pretty sure my brief was the other briefs by the two other guys, I guess I'll say on the good side, were good, excellent briefs. But I believe mine was the only brief that talked about, okay, so the governor's executive orders are unconstitutional, and unconstitutional is unconstitutional, so she doesn't get another 21 days, which she knows. But not only that, she had blatantly, all throughout that weekend, she had come out saying how she was going to use the public health code to do the exact same thing she was doing under the Emergency Powers of Governor Act or the Emergency Management Act of 1976. So why is it that we wouldn't, explain that it doesn't matter what statute those supposed powers are being exercised from, unconstitutional means unconstitutional. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court did not think it was, appropriate or necessary to address that, and lo and behold, has anyone noticed that all of a sudden our public health code has been used more and more to issue orders that get longer and longer, and they look pretty much exactly like the executive orders that we were seeing all through 2020. She's just using a different statute to do the exact same thing. Funny thing is that statute doesn't even allow her to do that, but who's going to stop her unless the people know this is a problem? Why would any elected judge or justice feel the pressure to do the right thing and follow the Constitution unless they know the people know what their rights are? They know the restrictions of government, and they're not afraid to try to stop them. That's what it's going to take. We can't stop anybody if we don't have the knowledge on how to do that. I could never do some of the things that I'm sure have been talked about today before I got here. Some of the dangerous situations that our men and women have fought in fighting for our freedom that they have encountered, where they've had to use all kinds of equipment or guns or weapons or whatever the situation is to be able to protect us, protect our freedom, protect themselves. I'd never be able to do what they have done because I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the training. It's about time we invest in the knowledge and the training in our Constitution so that we can start to regain control over our country and over our state and our local governments, and do so proactively so that we don't have to lose so many men and women who are fighting a reactive battle. We, the people, all of us, whether you're in 9th grade or whether you're 92 years old, all of us have an obligation to study our rights, to know what's in the U.S. and Michigan constitutions, to understand who the government officials are, what their role is, and to not be afraid to step up, even if you're the only one, to step up, tell them what the Constitution says or what the law says, tell them that you're watching them and that they owe it to the people they're supposedly representing to follow the Constitution no matter what political gain they might think they'll get by not following that Constitution. It wasn't a popular thing for me to do when by the way, let me just say, I don't come from a big law firm. All of the wonderful, intelligent, fabulous attorneys at my law firm are standing right in front of you. Just me. And I have my good friend Lori and my husband Mike. My husband's a machinist, by the way. They're not, legal scholars. They didn't go to paralegal training or anything like that. They're Americans who, have been dragged to hundreds of events across the state in the last the last 14 months, hearing me talk about parts of the Constitution, but that has gotten each of them interested. I've caught both of them numerous times looking up some stuff on their own or hearing something in the news and going, well, wait a minute, what about the Constitution? The Constitution doesn't allow this or it doesn't allow that. That's what it takes. It takes each and every one of us. Because I'm going to tell you, I had never read the Constitution start to finish until last year. At least I don't remember that. Oh, I took Constitutional Law 1, powers, Constitutional Law 2, liberties, in law school. We read the cases. We didn't actually really read the Constitution. Because there's that case law, right? That's all that's important. No. It's time we take our country back from these politicians. It's time we take our country back from the Democrats and Republicans alike, because they're all doing a bad job. It is time that we take our country back from the lawyers who have also forgotten they have taken an oath of office just the same as that man standing over there that I heard give an awesome speech right before I spoke. Or I'm sure many of you that have been in similar situations, whether you've worked in a local office, you're a township clerk. Oh, that's a bad word for me these days, township clerk. Sorry, and if any of you know my election day case, you'll understand why. or whether you're, served in our military, doesn't matter. Everybody has taken an oath of office then to protect the U.S. and Michigan constitutions so that our rights that are given to us by God are restored and preserved so that we can do our job of working together as the people so that we can fight the evil, we can fight the misinformation, we can do what God is instructing us to do, because we are living in a rebellious nation, and it's time that we, the people, rise up and do something about it. But don't wait for a court to tell you it's okay. Don't wait for any judge or justice to tell you you have rights that are given to you by God. That's not their job. Their job is to do something a lot more than what they've been doing. But their job is not to give you permission to live according to the rights that God gave you. You have those already. I've heard people say to me, the Republican Party nonetheless, that if you're in a situation where a law enforcement official, for example, say maybe pulls you over and, obviously isn't following the Constitution, isn't following the law, is trying to, confiscate something from you or to arrest you or whatever, that you just have to do whatever they say. Because due process in our Constitution means that you then get to battle it out in court later, and that, that's how you get your rights. No! What would be the point of having those rights if you had to fight for each and every one of them individually? We already had people that did that many, many years ago, hundreds of years ago, and we've had thousands of men and women that have died every day ever since to preserve what had already been fought for and what God already guaranteed to us and gave to us a long time ago. So, no, that's not how it works. You have your rights right now. And I don't care what judge or justice or sheriff or governor or even the president, I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat that looks you in the face and tells you that you don't have any of those rights or that they're somehow limited because we have a pandemic or anything else like that. I don't care what the excuse is, don't believe it. And the only way you're going to not believe it and know how to defend yourself is if you know what's in those constitutions. I can guarantee you with a 99.9% chance here that if you ask any legislator in our House of Representatives or our state senators, if they have read the entire Constitution, U.S. Constitution, the entire Michigan Constitution, if they have read every single, at least the titles of every single chapter of our state laws, not a single one could tell you that they have. And those are the people that are supposedly telling us how to live our lives. So I just want you to keep that in mind, because I get thousands of people that still reach out to me on a regular basis, calls, emails, texts, Facebook, whatever, at events. Well, what about this situation? Well, what about that? I had somebody that I serve with on a township board that just recently said to me, hey, I just got fired from my job because I wouldn't get the vaccine. What do I do? It's the same thing I've been saying for over a year. They don't have the right to do that. The government doesn't have the right to mandate it. An employer doesn't have the right to trample any of your freedom. But you're not going to have those freedoms unless we have brave men and women that are making the sacrifices that they're making, but also unless each and every one of us work together to know, to understand, and to be willing to fight at home every single day in every way we can to ensure those freedoms remain. So if you have any other questions, if I did a good job, then you will. RestoreFreedomKH.com is my website. You could probably just Google Restore Freedom and find me. I have lots of information on there and we'll continue to put more. We made a Constitution app on the Apple app and Google Play stores. If you just search for Restore Freedom, the U.S. and Michigan Constitution text is available there. And throughout the course of the next year, we will continue to increase the amount of things that we have to provide for educating people. And just so you know, I'm not in it for the money. because for the last year I've been living on donations so I could do this full time every single day, because that's how much my freedom means to me. And that's how much your freedom means to me. After all, it's the least I can do when we've had countless men and women that lose their lives either overseas or even once they come home, and the PTSD is so great that they lose a battle here. So please pick up your Constitution at some point today and read something in there. Thanks, guys.